Today's story comes from the the A-hole subreddit and was posted by Stunning Factor 871 and was titled, "Am I the a-hole for finally supporting my husband's ultimatum to his late wife's parents after they've repeatedly excluded my son? I, 35 female, am in a loving blended family, but the extended family drama is crushing me. I have a wonderful 10-year-old son. My current husband, 32 male, lost his first wife 4 years ago and has a 7-year-old son. We've built a beautiful family of 4. My husband treats both boys exactly the same. I do the same with my stepson, and the boys love each other like real brothers. We're genuinely happy despite everything. The problem is my husband's ex-in-laws, his late wife's parents. They constantly badmouth me and paint me as the evil stepmom, feeding every nasty stereotype: mean, neglectful, manipulative, jealous, etc., to my husband's parents and anyone who will listen. For example, after my stepson had a minor injury, they said things like, "Stepmoms can never be real. Why would she even care about him?" They accuse me of manipulating my stepson and try to turn everyone against me. Every time they visit, they completely ignore my son. No greetings, no conversation. They bring gifts, toys, chocolates, and sweets only for their biological grandson. When my kind-hearted stepson immediately shares everything with my son, as he always does, they get visibly annoyed, say things like, "Why are you sharing with him? That's for you only," and even try to pull him away. My husband has been solid and always says other people's opinions don't matter. He wanted to set a strong boundary earlier by announcing on my stepson's birthday, "If you are family, then you're family to both kids. If that's not possible, you're not family and not invited." I stopped him because I thought a nice talk would work. I've been holding my husband back from taking any harsh steps in order to respect his ex-in-laws as they lost their daughter. I wanted to respect the memory of his late wife and give them time to adjust. On my stepson's birthday last year, his side of the family showed up with gifts and love. On my son's birthday, almost no one came, and the few who did showed up empty-handed. Gifts are important to us as adults, but to a child it feels like rejection and being left out. My son was sad and has started asking me painful questions because of this exclusion, like why they don't like him or what he did wrong, which breaks my heart. I have zero family on my side, so he doesn't have that extended network. His birthday is coming up soon, and I'm dreading it. I'd even be happy to buy gifts myself that they could give him if that makes it easier. I just don't want him to feel left out again. Recently after they left, my son refused to eat the chocolates or play with the shared toys. He quietly kept everything in his pockets and returned it all to me. That broke me. I'm completely fine with them loving their biological grandson more. That's natural. But the open hostility, exclusion of my son, and constant comments are painful. Edit. I finally stopped holding my husband back. He is now taking strict action and has given an ultimatum to his side of the family. Either they are family to both kids or family to none. Am I the a-hole for supporting this hard line now, after previously trying to keep the peace? Or should I still be trying to make nice for the sake of family and my husband's late wife's memory? I just want my son to feel included and loved on his birthday instead of rejected again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "Not the a-hole. Your husband is stepping up. The trick is going to be managing the relationship with the boys so that there is no resentment. If you no contact or low contact with the family for a while, they'll be fine." On a separate note, who shows up to a kid's birthday party without a gift? What blatant assholes. Commenter 3 says, "Your husband absolutely is doing the right thing. It's great to hear how your nuclear family is navigating life together. Time to limit exposure to the boys' maternal grandparents before they start planting seeds in the boys' brain. Shame on them." Commenter 4 says, "Your husband knows the people involved. They're for him to deal with, and you should not be interfering, especially since it's a good solid boundary he's drawing. Stop trying to please everyone. They clearly don't accept it. You may as well be real and support your son, your husband, and your position in the family." Update. 9 days later, my husband's parents came over for dinner. After dinner, they started a conversation about the ultimatum my husband had given them earlier. He had finally sat them down and asked why they blindly believe everything his ex-in-laws say about me. They responded that they've seen everything with their own eyes and listed their issues with me. That I'm too harsh and casual when talking about his mother's death, for example saying she died or she is dead instead of using softer words. That I'm careless, especially after their grandson had small injury. That I'm trying to erase his mother's memory. They also accused me of manipulating my husband about the cat. My stepson wanted a cat, but my husband said no because he felt it would be cruel to bring a pet home when we can't give it proper care and attention. His parents tried to convince him to get one anyway. I didn't even know there was any argument between him and his parents over this. I only knew that he had told my stepson no when he asked. Now, they're claiming I manipulated him into refusing. My husband defended me and explained. Our therapist specifically recommended we be direct and straightforward about his mother's death, so my stepson can learn the permanence of death at his age. That's why I use clear wording, not just about his mom, but even when referring to my own late relative. When he, my husband, was a child, he got injured often, including breaking his arm once, but that didn't mean his mother was careless. He asked them, "Do you think I'm stupid or blind? If my wife was actually doing something wrong, don't you think I would notice?" The conversation turned into a big argument, especially over the cat issue. Relevant comments. Opie clarified who badmouthed her to the extended family members. Hope replied, "My husband's ex-in-laws badmouthed me to all the relatives from my husband's side, including my husband's parents. So the ultimatum my husband gave was for all. And my husband's parents came to talk about it, and this happened." Commenter says, "You still haven't told us when you met your husband, when you started dating, and when you got married. Were you his side piece as his wife was dying?" Hope replied, "No, I wasn't his side piece. I met him 2.5 years ago." Commenter 1 says, "How much of the ex-in-laws' dislike of you is because you're complaining about them not treating your child like a grandchild? Frankly, I think you are an asshole for expecting that they owe something to a child with whom they have zero relationship. Your husband's parents should be treating him like a grandson because he is their son's stepchild. Your kid is nothing to your stepchild's grandparents at all. So frankly, I can see why they don't like you much. They lost their daughter at a young age, and now her replacement has decided they owe her kid a relationship? If you have your way, then your stepkid not only has a dead mom, but no grandparents. Meanwhile, your child probably has at least some grandparents between your parents and his father's." Hope replied, "I agree that my husband's ex-in-laws will probably never treat both boys the same, but it wouldn't hurt them to be nice to my son. Telling my stepson not to share his toys and stuff with him is totally unacceptable. My husband and I are doing our best to raise them as brothers." Commenter 2 says, "Glad your husband is backing you up appropriately. You deserve that. The thing is, even if your in-laws were right and you were some kind of fairy tale villain, why would they punish a child for that? They hate you, so they hurt an innocent kid, and they think they're in the right? That tells you all you need to know, in my opinion." Update, almost 2 weeks later. My son turned 11 yesterday. It was better than last year, but still pretty awkward overall. Most of the relatives we invited from my husband's side actually showed up. It was clear they mainly came because they didn't want to upset my husband after the ultimatum. They brought gifts for both boys and stayed polite, but the vibe was we're here to keep the peace rather than genuine warmth. Most of them kept interactions with my son short and surface level while being more natural with my stepson. We also invited my husband's ex-in-laws, but they didn't show up at all, which we expected. After cake and presents, my husband pulled his parents aside for a private talk. He explained the therapist's advice about using direct words like died and death so our stepson can properly understand what happened. He invited them to join us for a therapy session if they wanted. They agreed it made sense and said they'd think about coming. Before everyone left, my husband and I thanked them all for showing up. We told them sincerely that it meant a lot to us that they came and were there for both boys. I'm happy they showed up. I completely understand that my son and my stepson are not the same for them. I know they'll always love their biological grandson more. That's natural. I just want basic kindness and inclusion for my son, and yesterday was a step in the right direction. My son had a decent day. He was happy about his gifts and that so many people came this year. He wasn't ignored or left out like before, and he didn't ask any heartbreaking questions. He didn't notice the difference in how people acted toward him, but he still went to bed smiling. I have to say, my husband has been absolutely amazing through all of this. He stayed strong, protected both boys, held the boundary, and made sure our son still felt celebrated. I'm so lucky to have such a wonderful, fair, and protective partner. He really is the rock of our family. It feels like a lot of this is damage control on their part, but at least my son got to celebrate without feeling rejected. We're keeping the boundary firm and taking the small progress where we can get it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, I have to ask, why did relatives give presents to both boys? Gifts should have been just for the birthday child. Other than that, you're doing well. Hold the line. Commenter 2 says, they love OP's stepson. Since they primarily came to keep the peace, they gave a token gift to OP's biological son. Their preference is still OP's stepson. Indirectly, they're telling OP though OP's husband made them come down for fairness. Their allegiance will always be towards their blood, also known as OP's stepson. They won't give a gift to OP's son on the stepson's birthday. That would give them smug satisfaction, I suppose. As long as the partiality isn't in her face, OP will let go, I guess. I'm glad that she has a strong husband. Hopefully therapist sessions will help in bringing down animosity towards OP and her child. Ultimately, stepson needs a kind mother, which OP is. Commenter 3 says, it was OP's biological son's birthday, wasn't it? So they got the birthday boy a token gift and gave their biological relative a larger gift, even though it wasn't their birthday? OP replied, their preference will always be my stepson, no doubt in that. Yeah, as long as partiality isn't in my face, I don't have any problem. Commenter 4 says, I can get on board with your husband's family treating your son better, but expecting that from his deceased wife's family or cutting them off over it still gives me the full body ick. As a stepchild, I know why you want his parents to treat your son more fairly. My second husband's family treating my oldest like another grandchild is in a small way important to me. Though I take advantage of it being voluntary because blending is natural to our families. However, my late husband's parents being forced to treat my youngest like their grandchild at risk of being cut out, and he shares blood with their grandchild, seems rude, disrespectful, and cruel. I would never want to interfere with their relationship with my older child like that. They don't owe their resources, their time, or their money to a child I chose to have with the partner I chose after their son died. I expect only that they are cordial and kind when we're in a room together. Oprah replied, the main problem with my husband's ex-in-laws is not that they don't treat my son the same. If they can't be nice, they should not be rude. And they try to put thoughts in my stepson's head that my son is not his brother and sharing things with him is wrong, when me and my husband are trying to raise them as brothers. Commenter 6 says, hope he has a good man in her life. Oprah replied, I know I'm blessed. Update 12 days later. Hi everyone. I wasn't planning on making another update, but a lot of people asked what happened after my husband's parents agreed to attend a therapy session with us. Birthday celebrations. A lot of people asked why my posts focused on relatives instead of my son's friends. In my husband's family, birthdays have always been celebrated in two parts. On the child's actual birthday, we have a family celebration with relatives. Then, on the following weekend, the birthday child has a separate celebration with their friends. That's the tradition both boys have grown up with, and they genuinely enjoy it. My son absolutely celebrated with his friends as well. It just wasn't relevant to my previous posts because all of the issues happened during the family celebration. Our relationship timeline. Quite a few people also wondered how long after my husband's first wife passed away we met. She had passed away about 1 year and 5 months before we met. We dated for 15 months before getting married, and we've now been married for 16 months. Some people assumed our relationship started immediately after his loss, but that wasn't the case. Now, for the update. After my son's birthday, my husband's parents came with us to one of our therapy sessions. I honestly expected it to turn into another argument, but it didn't. Our therapist first explained why she had recommended that we use direct words like died and death when talking to my stepson instead of softer phrases like passed away. She explained that children his age understand the permanence of death much better when adults use clear, direct language, and that euphemisms can sometimes be confusing. She also explained something that I hadn't really thought about before. Because my stepson lost his mother so young, everyone around him naturally wanted to protect him from more pain. Between us, my husband's parents, and his late mother's parents, a lot of adults try to soften the reality of what had happened. The therapist said that while those intentions came from love, constantly shielding a child from direct conversations about death can make it harder for them to fully understand that death is permanent. That was one of the reasons she encouraged us to use clear language and answer his questions honestly in an age-appropriate way. She emphasized that helping a child understand the permanence of death isn't cruel. It's actually an important part of healthy grieving. She also made it clear that this wasn't something I decided on by myself. It was advice we were given in therapy and have been following consistently. My husband's parents admitted they hadn't known that. They said they genuinely thought I was being insensitive. My husband then told his parents something that I think needed to be said. He told them that if they ever have concerns about our younger one or about any parenting decision we make, he wants them to come directly to us instead of making assumptions. He said he'd much rather have an uncomfortable conversation than have people filling in the blanks or believing someone else's version of events. It was awkward at times. There were quiet moments. After the session, they thanked us and left. No big emotional talk. The session simply ended with everyone understanding each other's perspective a little better than before. Since then, we've noticed small but meaningful changes. I'm glad they came. It feels like a small step, not a big change. We're not expecting miracles. The second story is from Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was posted by Equal Visual 7676 and was titled, Am I the a-hole for thinking my girlfriend's request to postpone weekly workouts with my friend was unreasonable? My girlfriend Mia, 21 female, and I, 25 male, have been dating for a couple of months and we're in a long-distance relationship. While we were still getting to know each other, we asked each other about past relationships. So I told her about my first and only girlfriend I had before her, Jess, 26 female. Jess and I dated on and off from ages 12 to 17. She often broke up with me, blocked me, and got back together with me. When we weren't dating, we were friends with benefits. Even after we ended things for good, she remained my best friend despite not treating me well even after. I asked Mia if she was jealous because she seemed more quiet than usual, and she said she doesn't know Jess well enough to be jealous and only had that reaction based on what I said. She said Jess doesn't sound like a nice friend or like she was a nice girlfriend to me. I told her that she just doesn't know her like I do and that she doesn't have to worry about anything. When Mia bought her ticket, I excitedly told all my friends because I wanted them all to meet her. Jess said she was excited to meet Mia and suggested we could show her around town. This made Mia really upset because she said the way I described it made her feel like Jess and I were the we, and she'd be the third wheel. I apologized, and that was that. A few weeks later, Jess spontaneously asked me to work out. Afterward, we agreed to make it a weekly thing. When I told my girlfriend, she said it made her uncomfortable. I told her that we're just working out and holding each other accountable to do it every week. Mia asked what she's supposed to do or where she's supposed to go when she comes to visit and we're on our workout days. I told her that she can just come with us and work out. Mia said that sounds like she's the third wheel again. She said it makes her feel like Jess and I are together, not the other way around. I reassured her that it's not like that and we're just working out. She then asked why Jess' fiancé didn't work out with her. I texted Jess and she said it was because of his work. Mia then asked if Jess would be okay with her joining. I asked, and Jess said she wasn't comfortable with another woman being there. I told my girlfriend it wasn't a big deal, and maybe Jess was just self-conscious. My girlfriend then told me that when she wanted to go to a concert with a guy friend or go watch a movie, I told her I don't trust her friend, and she respected my wishes and didn't go. I told her it was different because I knew what guys were like, and I was just working out. I told her it feels like she's accusing me and Jess of doing something shady. Mia told me she wasn't judging me or Jess or accusing us of doing anything. She simply didn't know Jess yet and wasn't comfortable, same as me not being comfortable with her guy friends. She said to meet in the middle and asked if I could wait until she met Jess and got to know her before doing workouts. I told her that was unfair to Jess and that I think she just needs to accept the way things are. She cried and hung up. She hasn't talked to me for days. Am I the a-hole? Verdict, asshole. Relevant comments. Furrow Beard says, I knew what guys are like. Also, just not being comfortable with another girl being there is the biggest load of bullshit. She wants you to herself. Can you advocate for your girlfriend? You might need to cut Jess off. Curiously Perplexed says, I agree. Also, isn't Opie a guy? Why is he working out with Jess? Because of what guys are like. Furrow Beard replied, Oh, that rule doesn't apply to him. Surely. He's not like other guys. Update. Writing this so people can stop direct messaging me about being an asshole and asking for updates. Edit. I'm 25 male. Mia, 21 female, is my girlfriend. Jess, 26 female, is my friend. Jess' fiancé is 29 male. I told Jess about what happened when we went to work out 3 days ago. She didn't say much about it, only that I didn't listen or wasn't being understanding of what Mia felt, but nothing after that. She looked stressed or disappointed, so I asked her what was up. She told me she would tell me afterward. When we got to the parking lot, she told me we can't work out together anymore because her fiancé found out and he was also uncomfortable about it, and they had a long talk about it. She said that she didn't get it at first, so she tried to explain that her friendship with me is different from any other friendships. And he told her that it's not only different, but it's dangerous. He said because we have history, we dated, we were friends with benefits, we relied on each other for years before each finding our person, but we never had boundaries to just be friends. He said he knows that I'm a good person for me, hanging out with him a couple of times, but he's felt territorial and uncomfortable sometimes. He asked Jess how she would feel if her fiancé told her, Hey, I'm going to work out weekly with my ex, don't worry. We're just best friends now. See you later. He said Jess would obviously be uncomfortable, and that's how Mia probably feels. He said it's not fair that he should have to make a boundary about this between them now, and he assumes Mia has to make a boundary about this to me. He said this boundary should have already been implied because you love and respect your person enough not to wait around until they get hurt to do something about it. Jess said she realized he was right. She's hurt that she hurt him and was being ignorant. She would be uncomfortable if her fiancé went working out with his ex, and she said it's the first time she thought about being jealous. So we stopped working out, and she stopped reaching out or texting me much after that. Mia and I made up. I apologized for being an asshole, and I told her what Jess and her fiancé said. Mia said she's mind-blown that Jess' fiancé got it right, but is still hurt by what happened. I promised to make up for it, and that I already have some dates planned and reserved for when she visits, and I'm paying for everything. I know I need to keep showing her through my actions that I meant my apology. She's coming in 3 weeks, and we're both really excited. Relevant comments. 78 October says, I don't think I could continue a relationship with someone who had rules for me, no concerts with guy friends, and not for himself, going to the gym with an ex, while also diminishing my feelings and needing a third party to explain it to him. If Jess's boyfriend hadn't had a problem with it, and Jess wanted to continue working out, then you would have ignored your girlfriend's feelings. She should take all that into account before continuing to date you. If she sticks it out with you, then make the effort to listen to her and not only care about her feelings when other people explain it to you. Hope replied, I grew up with divorced parents, but they remained friends afterward. My dad and stepmom broke up also, but remained friends. My mom and her boyfriends broke up, but remained friends. So being friends with an ex isn't abnormal or weird for me. Mia and I have talked about this, and we have the same beliefs that exes can be friends. So when she felt a certain way, I thought she was thinking I'm cheating on her, even if I'm not. I trusted Mia would be okay with this. I think what bothered or changed me about what happened was that I thought Jess' fiancé knew. So in my mind, I was thinking, look at this guy that's older than all of us and probably knows what a healthy relationship is. That's why she chose him, and they're getting married. Maybe he knows that this is okay too, and he trusts Jess, and we're not doing anything wrong. And maybe Mia is just very young. She's the youngest out of all of us, and maybe she just needs to learn that this is okay. But when Jess' fiancé didn't even know, and finding out he was uncomfortable, I realized that what Mia was feeling was actually legitimate. So I acknowledge my mistakes and am making it up to her now. Extended Spike Protein says, that's the problem. You should have realized her feelings were legitimate without a third party. And you're a hypocrite. Hope replied, How could I have realized that without knowing what I know now? Was I supposed to be an expert in my relationship with my girlfriend before we got together? Toasted Chronicles says, common sense, dude. Common fucking sense.